Hello everyone, this is going to be a short video on how to set up and configure the CrazyFly Lighthouse system for MicroCART. If you have not already watched the CrazyFly how to set up the Lighthouse video, you should watch that and then come back to this video, because that video has a lot of really useful information that we don't necessarily have to go over again here. But there will be a few small caveats, and that is the purpose of this video. Also, the MicroCART wiki article about how to use the lighthouses should have all this information anyway, but this should just be a good substitute. So after the lighthouses are set up, you're going to want to make sure that they're at like approximately the right angle. So hopefully you can see here about the height and angle this one is. It should be, I have found that it works well at about a little above like eye level, so maybe like 6 feet high, and about facing flat but slightly angled downward seems to work pretty well. I've also found that lowering the lighthouses also works pretty well. And currently we have the lighthouses set up so that we have 2 and 3. Our first lighthouse, lighthouse number 1, is currently in timeout in this corner because it seemed to be kind of working intermittently, and so because of that we decided not to use it. We have occasionally been using a mount on the ceiling, which is that right there. And so you can actually mount the lighthouse up there in case you aren't getting like the area that you're trying to fly. If it does not detect the lighthouse, you might want to try mounting one up there, because that seems to be pretty helpful for us. But because the lighthouse actually kind of sprays the rays going downward from where it is flat, and so whenever you do that, you are going to want to make sure you angle the lighthouse to compensate for that, so that it actually ends up covering the whole mat area. Once that has been done, it's really just a matter of configuring in the software, which we'll go over now. Okay, so when you're on the MicroCART virtual machine, what you're going to want to do is use CFClient. However, in case your CFClient is not the most up-to-date, maybe you're using an old version of the virtual machine, or maybe mine is more up-to-date than the one that we have available for other people. Regardless of that, you're going to want to make sure you upgrade CFClient. So it's really just a Python package, so you update it the same way any other Python package is updated. So I believe that's pip install -- upgrade CFClient. And you may also want to upgrade pip in case it is not up to date. So I've already updated it, so that's why it didn't really do all that much. But if yours is not updated, there might be a loading bar there. And then to run it, you just do CFClient. And you're also going to want to make sure that your CrazyFly Crazy Radio dongle is connected, of course. And then just hit enter, and then it's going to pull up the CrazyFly GUI that is made by BitCraze themselves. So now we have this up. It's going to be scanning for any available CrazyFlies. So we'll connect to 90. And you'll see that I have this lighthouse positioning tab open. The CrazyFly, like the BitCraze explanation of how to get the lighthouse set up, that should all work for getting that there. But to review that real quick, I believe you go into yes, I think it's tabs, and then lighthouse positioning. If you just click that, it'll add this tab, and in here you should see where it thinks the CrazyFly is. But to actually get it set up, it's a little different than that video. So because we updated our CFClient We have the option for up to 4 base stations here. And whenever you're configuring it, you are going to want to reference what is in green and what is in red. So this is actually a really good example. Right now, the Crazy Fly sees the third base station, but it does not see this second one. And so we are basically just going to want to place the Crazy Fly in a place that it can see both of them, and that's how we manage our geometry. And then also with the most updated CF client, there's 2 options to configure the geometry. There's Estimate Geometry Simple, which is the same as the old version of CF client. And then there's this other Estimate Geometry. This version is a lot better because it just gets a better reading on the location of the lighthouses, and it allows the Crazy Flies to just have a lot less issues whenever determining their position. And so I can give you an example of what this ends up looking like. So we'll take a measurement of where we want the origin to be, and it might say no lighthouses detected. We can try again. And basically, this will end up saying that it sees one of them. And so what you want to do is basically move the Crazy Fly around until it sees 2 of them. So I'll do that right now. Okay, so all I did was I restarted the Crazy Fly. I moved it a little bit, and now it sees both lighthouses just fine. So if we go back into Estimate Geometry, Start Measurement, it should say, yeah, it has 2 visible base stations. That's really the key. So long as you have 2 base stations visible, it has a really good idea of where it is. And now it says to move it exactly 1 meter from the origin. So and then it sees 2 that way. And then what it does is it says to put it on the plane. So move it some other direction than you just did. And then when that runs, it should see 2 base stations. And you can do a bunch of readings of that if you like. The last thing it asks you to do is just wave it around in the air for 20 seconds. So I'll do that real quick. Okay, so after waving it around in the air, I basically just walked around the whole play area that we're going to have for it. You just go to next, you hit Estimate Geometry, yada, yada, yada. It calculates things. Now it has a good idea where it is. You hit Finish and write a Crazy Fly the new geometry. And I think that's updated. Then we can hit Close, and this is the new geometry that it claims to have. It thinks it's moved a little on that axis, which is fine. And now we go back to flight control. I'd expect this to be updating a little bit, so that's a little odd. It may not be updating, but we can try taking off, see if it works correctly. And it did. You cannot really see it, but the drone is flying, which is exciting. Yeah. What can happen is the light on the top of the lighthouse deck might turn orange. That usually happens whenever it can only see one lighthouse, or if it just doesn't see either of them. And then the drone just doesn't feel comfortable staying aloft. You can kind of mitigate that if you put the flow deck underneath it. But just having 2 good lighthouses seems to be good enough to get it to stay in the air. So that's about it. I will link to the other video that I've been referencing in the description, and I hope everybody has a good day.